Oh, so then what do you do with the Catholics? If you find out someone is Catholic, then what?
You're teaching them how to think. Mm-hmm. That's it. It doesn't matter what they think about it. If they think about it in a logical, progressive way, that becomes their own.
So you kind of like gear them to think in a more liberal way.
Mm-hmm. Believe it or hopefully the more progressive teachers are actually more savvy about delivering like a democratic message without really ever mentioning politics. It's subtle. They'll never say, oh, this is a liberal or a democratic way of doing this. They'll just make that the norm. And this is how we handle things. It's subtle.
And that's how you get away with it?
That's how you get away with it.
And how do you make sure the parents don't find out?
They can find out, so long as you never mention the politics.
And then later down the line, you're going to vote Democrat. And you will have done a great service to our country.
Greenwich, Connecticut is one of the most beautiful and wealthy cities in the Nutmeg State. Now, what you're about to see is one assistant principal in charge of 360 students, defying state regulations, preventing Catholics or conservatives from being hired as a teacher. Meet Jeremy Boland, the assistant principal at Cobb Elementary in Greenwich, Connecticut. Boland met up with one of our undercover journalists and revealed stunning discriminatory hiring practices as well as his politicized beliefs on how his school should be run.
I can't get past the parents anymore.
What do you mean?
So the parents feel as though it's their responsibility to shape the schools, which then shape the kids. Right. So because I can't get past the parents, do I really have as much of an influence on the kids as I want? I try in my own way, but right now my job is to hire the right teachers.
Do we work for the parents or do we work for the kids?
You tell me.
We work for the kids.
So it's not about the parents anymore?
It shouldn't be. I don't think.
Here I am holding a copy of the Cobb 2021 to 2022 handbook. Notice how Jeremy Boland, the assistant principal's name is on here, along with recently retired principal Gene Schmidt. Now, inside this handbook, we found a quote from Boland saying, quote, "Thank you for entrusting us with the care of your child," close quote. But now watch how Boland tells our undercover journalist he doesn't hire anyone who sides with parents.
Ask me as if you're interviewing. Like, what are some of the questions you would ask?
So, I'm trying to think exactly how I worded it. So in a meeting with a parent, you propose the plan you develop for your student to develop these reading skills on these concepts, and the parent disagrees with you. How do you handle it?
Okay, so if someone sides with the parent, then what?
You let them explain, and then you move on to the next question.
But then eventually the outcome of that...
They don't get the job.
Now watch as Boland reveals to our journalist how he uses a specific line of questioning during the interview process to help determine if someone is conservative, which plays a key role in his evaluation on whether to hire that individual or not.
In the hiring process, how can you figure out who's conservative and who's not?
It comes down to the stories. So typically an interview is 30 minutes, which is not a long time. So you got to be very specific about the questions. So I've developed a set of questions that I use for almost all my interviews, and it's all leading them to tell a story.
So then what do you do with them? Like if they're applying for a job?
You interview them, and you call them in a few days and say, sorry, we moved forward with another candidate.
So like you would...
I haven't hired one yet.
And would you ever, you think?
I don't think so. It's just that stuck mindset. I need a growth mindset.
Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I think one of the questions that might start including is something about transgender students that are affected. Was it non-binary?
Yeah.
If you end up with a student that's non-binary, tell me how you approach that student. That's a good question.
So what's the correct answer to that?
You treat the student with respect. They're to educate that student. They get to choose however they want to identify. I'm there to support them.
Right. And if someone gives the opposite answer and they're in support of, or they're not in support of transgender.
Yeah. So if you get somebody who's hardcore religious or hardcore conservative, they would probably say something detrimental to the fact. I don't think kids we didn't have enough knowledge to make decisions.
If people knew that you like didn't hire conservatives though, do you think they would be pissed or like?
I'm not allowed to ask their political leaders, and they're not allowed to ask me. So it just comes down to the questions. The way I've worded some of my questions, you can't really tell. All the proof is in the answer.
Right.
So that's, I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Boland's hiring practices aren't limited to just blocking conservatives from obtaining a job. They go as far as discriminating against Catholics, too.
So have you found like that certain religions tend to be more right-wing? What do you mean?
Everyone, and I'm not a huge expert on religion, Protestants in this area probably are as well. If they're Catholic, it's unbelievable.
Oh, so then what do you do with the Catholics? If you find out someone is Catholic, then what? So would you ever hire a Catholic then?
Also, I don't want to.
I agree, but why not?
Because there's just that, there's always that, if you were raised on court, it's like they're brainwashed, they never change their mindset. So when you ask them to consider something new, like new opportunity, you have to think about this differently, you're just lost at that religion.
Here I am holding of Connecticut Law Section 46A60B, which specifically prohibits discriminatory employment practices. A violation occurs if anyone refuses to hire or employ, quote, because of an individual's race, color, religious creed, age, sex, gender identity, or expression, etc., etc. Now watch as Mr. Boland tells our journalist that he thinks he is above the Connecticut state law and school rules when it comes to potential new hires. He discriminates using religion, politics, and age.
Have you had a lot of right-wingers applying?
No. But I haven't interviewed many because I feel like I'm able to screen it out.
How so?
I need younger. So, because Greenwich pays very well, you get teachers from other districts who've been there for a long time that want to come to Greenwich. But if they're older, I'm not allowed to do that. But I can't tell them I'm not interviewing you because you're older. I just don't interview. So, like for one position, I think we had 30 applicants. So, out of all those applicants, I don't think I interviewed anybody over the age of 30.
Because they would.
A couple of reasons, yeah. Because sometimes the older you get, the more set in your ways, the more conservative you get.
Remember that teacher I was talking about before, the 40-year-old? I'll never change that teacher.
You're what?
I'll never be able to change that teacher.
Which one?
The conservative one, who's stuck in her ways. I'll never be able to fire her. I'll never be able to change her. So I make an impact with the next teacher I hire. So my instinct for hiring, I've hired maybe 4 or 5 people. They've been pretty good.
Okay.
So that's where I make my impact.
In Section B5 of Connecticut's statutes, it is against the law to aid, abet, incite, compel, or coerce, or attempt these discriminatory practices. Boland is likely well aware that an educator at a public school cannot indoctrinate students with a political ideology. However, Boland disregards this basic principle and encourages, quote, subtle democratic messaging.
Teaching them how to think.
Mhm.
That's it. Doesn't matter what they think about. If they think about it in a logical, progressive way, that becomes their habit.
So you kind of like gear them to think in a more liberal way.
Believe it or not, hopefully the more progressive teachers are actually more savvy about delivering like a democratic message without really ever mentioning politics. It's subtle. They'll never say, oh, this is a liberal or a democratic way of doing this. They'll just make that the norm. And this is how we handle things. It's subtle.
And that's how you get away with it?
That's how you do it.
And how do you make sure the parents don't find out?
They can find out, so long as you never mention politics.
You can influence them to almost like be mad at the Supreme Court in a way without telling them to be mad at the Supreme Court.
So then let's talk about the Supreme Court. If 80% of the country is in favor of this law, and yet the Supreme Court just said no, what are you going to do when it comes time to cast your vote? Which then has a direct influence on who gets picked for the Supreme Court. We want people that are going to listen to the people. Who listens to the people? It wasn't the conservatives on the Supreme Court. It's little things like that. You hope those little things stick.
Right, which they probably will. And then later down the line, you're going to vote Democrat. And you will have done a great service to our country. So it's like you present everything in a way that's like subconsciously influencing the kids to vote liberal in a way, but it's not doing it in such an explicit way to where the parents can actually get mad at you for it.
All this begs the question, if politics and religion are supposed to be kept out of the classroom, why are these factors used in affecting Boland's hiring decisions at COSCOB? Reporting from Greenwich, Connecticut, this is James O'Keefe with Project Veritas.